Most people think reversing type 2 diabetes takes this whole perfect plan. A strict diet, this iron willpower mentality, zero mistakes. Come on, folks, that's not realistic. So the issue is when life gets hard, they end up slipping up and then they eventually stop. They assume that they fail. We've all been there before. But what if the reason you haven't reversed your type 2 diabetes or prediabetes has nothing to do with your willpower? What if nobody gave you the actual roadmap? Not the one that you saw on the internet or on TikTok or somewhere on social media, not the one that your doctor had 10 minutes to explain. When I started my journey towards weight loss and reversing type 2 diabetes, I didn't want things to be complicated. That's why today I'm giving you a roadmap. Because here's the truth, folks. Your body is designed to heal, plain and simple. It just needs the right conditions. It just needs the right plan. So stick around to hear the rest of today's episode. You don't want to miss it. Let's go. Be sure to visit the website at www.beatingdiabetieslifestyle.com for access to free resources and other information that will help you along your journey. If you would like to submit a question or a comment about the show or to learn more about the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle, you can always email me at hello@beatingdiabetieslifestyle.com. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to this podcast. Welcome to the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle podcast with me, your host, Oscar Camejo, helping diabetics make lifestyle changes to reverse type 2 diabetes. Folks, I'm so appreciative of everyone who's tuning into this episode. If this is your first time, welcome to this safe space. If you've been riding with me for a long time, you've been here since day one, thank you for coming back and tuning in. I genuinely don't take it for granted that you all are here. You could have been watching anything, but you're here rocking with me, and I really appreciate that. Whether you're in Europe, Africa, here in the United States, I always want to say thank you, and I appreciate you so much. Now, before we get into it, here's a little context. If you've been following the lifestyle behavior series that I've been on, then you already know that I'm all about building a foundation. Those episodes that I've done was to help you to level set. We've covered things from sugary beverages to ultra processed foods, eating late at night, being sedentary and not moving that much. We've talked about strength training, poor sleep, chronic stress, and even emotional eating. There's a lot to go over. So go back and tune into any of those episodes. I know that is going to help you out tremendously. Everything may not be working the way that you plan, but you know what? Today we're zooming in to look at the full picture. Let's talk about how this actually works when it comes to type 2 diabetes, prediabetes, and even high blood pressure and high cholesterol. You know what? I remember when I came off insulin. This was back in April 2022. I was sitting there in my doctor's office, getting news that I no longer needed insulin. Folks, when I tell you that the weight of managing type 2 diabetes started lifting, I had a renewed surge of confidence, and that confidence allowed me to keep going. And what I'll tell you is this. Most people, when they go on insulin for the first time, they think it's a one-way door. I had that fear too. I get it. Been there, done that. But what I learned is that insulin is just a tool, folks. It's not a life sentence. The lifestyle changes I made gave my body a chance to respond differently. And eventually, my numbers reflected that, to be honest. I came across some research not too long ago that talked about, people are achieving remission from type 2 diabetes after 12 months of intense, lifestyle intervention. I'm not talking about overhauling your whole lifestyle, but you know what? When you talk about nearly half people are able to get their blood sugar under control and end up being in this non-diabetic range. I'm talking about without medication, through lifestyle alone, folks. Now, let that sink in. That means it's possible. It's possible in your situation. No, it's not guaranteed for everybody, but it's possible. Why not give yourself a chance, right? Okay, so here's the big idea and the big takeaway for today. And I want you to hear this clearly. Reversing type 2 diabetes does not require a perfect plan. I need to drive that home, but it does require a consistent plan. Consistency wins the day, folks. We can't get around it. Most people come out of a diabetes diagnosis ready to overhaul everything. They want to do a new diet. They want to have a new exercise plan, some more supplements or new supplements, new sleep schedule, new everything. And then guess what, folks? Life happens. They end up falling off. I've been there. I'm pretty sure you've felt like you've fallen off before. And sometimes people feel like they've failed. But here's the thing. You didn't fail the plan. The plan probably and most likely fails you. That's the reality. It was too much all at once. Now, think about it like this. If your car keeps breaking down, you don't add more features to the engine, right? Nah, you go ahead and you fix the problem. You fix what's actually broken. For most people with type 2 diabetes, what's broken is their insulin resistance. Now, you may have heard this word or this term before, insulin resistance. Maybe you haven't. So I'm going to break it down for you in real plain language. Now, your body naturally produces insulin. Insulin is not just a medication. It's a hormone. But what happens is your cells have stopped responding to insulin the way that they should. So that's what insulin resistance is. Your body is resisting insulin and its effects. So over time, that causes your blood sugar to creep up. That's why your A1C goes up. Then your doctor adds medication to help bring your A1C down. You see what I'm saying? And that cycle keeps continuing. But here's the good news, folks. Insulin resistance, basically type 2 diabetes, is reversible. Now, again, it's not for everyone. It may not happen for everyone. It's not a complete overhaul that's going to take place overnight. But for a lot of people, it can get significantly better. That's a fact. And the path to getting there is more simpler than you've probably been told. I know when I was first diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, nobody told me I can send this into remission. My doctor didn't put that before me as, hey, this is a possibility. He just said, hey, you need to, lose some weight, try to do things better. But he didn't break it down for me. So I'm going to break it down for you right now. Insulin resistance doesn't happen overnight. Type 2 diabetes doesn't happen overnight. It builds up over years of eating patterns, inactivity, and excess fat storage. That fat around the midsection. Here's a chain reaction. You eat some high carb foods, high sugary foods and meals, your blood sugar spikes fast. Your pancreas does its job, which is to pump out a big dose of insulin to bring it back down, to bring your blood sugar back down. But when this happens over and over again, and after your blood sugar spikes, your pancreas does what it's supposed to do, and that is pump out a big dose of insulin to bring that blood sugar back down. But when this happens over and over again, your cells start turning off the insulin signal. It starts tuning it out. It starts ignoring it, basically. Think about it like a car alarm that goes off every single day. Eventually, everybody on the block ignores it, right? That's insulin resistance. Again, it's a resistance to the effects of insulin. Again, high sugar, insulin spikes, cells tune out, your resistance build, blood sugar stays high. So you know what, folks? There's some studies that say that if you lose 5 to 7% of body fat, that can make a big difference. Now, if you weigh, for example, 250 pounds, that's 12 to 17 pounds. That's not a dramatic transformation. That's a real achievable starting point. So just think about in your situation. Can you lose 5 to 7 pounds and keep it off? You see, it makes a real difference in how your body will respond to insulin. Movement can actually help turn things around as well. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. When you move your muscles, something powerful happens. Your muscles, they start pulling glucose directly out of your bloodstream without insulin. So that's why it's important to become stronger, to build muscle, not to become muscle bound, but to become stronger and help with your blood sugar regulation. You don't have to lift heavy weights, folks. You don't have to run a 5K. You don't have to run a marathon to be healthy. A simple 10-minute walk after dinner can actually lower your blood sugar. Real simple. That's not motivation talk, that's biology. Now, this doesn't have to be complicated. I hate complications, but it does have to be intentional. When it comes to ultra processed foods, refined carbs, sugary drinks, those things hit your bloodstream very, very fast. And that's what causes a rapid blood sugar spike. And that blood sugar spikes triggers more insulin, which builds more resistance over time. You see what I'm saying? So hopefully this is making a lot more sense. But when you start eating whole foods, vegetables, lean proteins, and healthy fats, that helps to slow down the process of that sugar spike. So this gives your body time to process the glucose at a steadier pace. One swap a day. Doesn't have to be complicated. That's how all this starts. It's not an overhaul. It's just a simple swap. I know some people are like, Oscar, it can't be that simple. Listen, when I started my journey, I didn't want things to be so complicated. I started looking at things that I could do to really make things a lot more simpler because I was stuck in a cycle like many of you are. Here's a cycle that keeps a lot of people stuck. It kept me stuck, but I want to help you to get unstuck. People get diagnosed and they feel overwhelmed. Then they try to change things and everything all at once. It didn't stick. Then they get discouraged. Then they go back to old habits. The numbers get worse. And guess what happens? That feeling of hopelessness, like, man, none of this is working, that starts to kick in and it settles in. I get it. Being diagnosed, you feel overwhelmed. You go in this all or nothing trek. You feel burnout, go back to old habits. Your numbers get worse. Then you start feeling like, man, I can't do this. 9 times out of 10, that cycle isn't about discipline. It's about the plan was being way too big. People who attempt dramatic weight overhauls are significantly more likely to revert back to their baseline habits within 6 months compared to those who make small, steady changes. It's one of the biggest reasons people don't make lasting progress, folks. I'm just being honest. Not a lack of desire, not a lack of effort. The plan was way too much all at once. I know you go out, you buy all these new clothes, these gym clothes, these new running shoes, and whatever else you get into and you're excited about, then you start to taper off. We've all been there before. You know what? There's always good news, and I want you to hear this clearly. You don't have to change everything. You especially don't have to change everything overnight. You just have to change the right things and be consistent. Consistency wins the day. I know that's easier said than done, but you know what? Your body is resilient. If you keep showing up doing the right things, you will achieve results. Even after years of high blood pressure and high blood sugar, your cells can start responding better to insulin. Your pancreas can get some relief, folks. Your A1C can come down without medication. This is what happened for me. I came off insulin by April 2022, not because I did something magical or anything special. I was off all medications eventually by mid 2022, not because I was perfect, but because I decided to be consistent. I started seeing some small wins, and I said, you know what? I like winning. So I kept going. I was deliberate about my change. I wanted things to change, folks. And my heart goes out to a lot of you all who are struggling right now. And you're feeling like, man, I don't know what to do, Oscar. I get that. So that's why I want to give you a simple battle plan. It's 5 things that are simple, they're repeatable, and you could do it starting today. Step 1, cut the liquid sugar. I know you like your sodas, your sweet teas, your juice, your sports drinks, but you got to understand something, folks. These hit your bloodstream faster than almost anything you can eat. Instead, I want you to replace those sugary drinks with water. It could be sparkling water or some other unsweetened options, some unsweetened alternatives. Again, step 1, cut out liquid sugar first. Step 2, walk after your biggest meal every day. That's just 10 minutes, folks. You can find 10 minutes. Stop playing. That's it. Your muscles will start absorbing that glucose, that blood sugar. And guess what? After your meal, your blood sugar spikes will be smaller. I know there could be a bunch of other things going on, but listen, why not start small? If you do this consistently, I guarantee you're going to start seeing some dramatic changes. It'll happen over time. Just be patient. Step number 3, stop eating 2 to 3 hours before bed. That late night eating keeps your blood sugar elevated while your body's trying to rest, folks. I need you to set up a cutoff time and protect it. Set boundaries around that cutoff time. I actually have an episode on getting better sleep. You definitely need to check that out. Okay, now step number 4, add one whole food to every meal. It's not a diet overhaul. I'm not talking about going on this strict diet, because sometimes heavily restricting yourself can be a terrible thing. It can actually hurt. I'm just talking about adding a vegetable, adding some whole fruits, some small swaps, being consistent over time. That's how the needle will move, folks. All right, so remember, step number 4, add one whole food per meal. Now let's go on to step number 5. Track one of your numbers and be consistent, whether it's tracking your weight, your fasting blood sugar, your daily steps. Pick one and be consistent with it. You don't have to track everything every day, but what gets measured gets managed. So just think about it. Track something that help you to stay on target, set yourself some goals and be consistent with tracking one number consistently. These 5 things won't fix everything overnight. These 5 steps, I get it, but they will start you moving in the right direction. Your body wants to heal. Your body is resilient. The direction matters more than the speed, folks. And I need you to hear that loud and clear. You came into this episode maybe wondering if reversing type 2 diabetes was even possible. You're probably dealing with a whole bunch of other things as well. But I want you to leave knowing this. It's not going to be easy, but it's possible. You want better numbers, right? Well, it's going to require some small, consistent changes. You want better numbers? Make consistent, small changes. Your body was designed to heal, folks. I keep saying this. Give it the conditions to heal itself. I want you to stay tuned for the rest of these episodes that I'm going to be doing on the lifestyle behavior series, because you know what? I wish someone had taken the time and told me the things that I'm telling you. We live and we learn, right? So thank you for spending the time with me today. I don't take it for granted. Now let's get out there and put all this into action. As always, my friend, stay focused, keep moving, never go back. Leap forward, bounce back because you can, my friend. Hey, and above all else, trust God. You got this. I believe in you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle Podcast with Oscar Camejo. We hope you enjoyed this episode. As a reminder, this podcast is intended for motivational and educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional care by a physician or other healthcare professional or qualified fitness instructor. This podcast is provided on the understanding that it does not constitute medical or professional advice or services. If you're looking for help on your journey, seek a qualified medical practitioner. It's important that you utilize someone who is a trained, licensed healthcare professional who can help you on your journey toward good health.